There is no worse feeling than nailing a nutrition plan for the entire day, only to get home after a stressful day and dive headfirst into a pint of ice cream and uncontrollably eat all of your progress away. This experience is not uncommon, and as a nutrition coach, for some clients, emotional eating may be the only thing that's holding them back from results. That's why in today's video, I'm going to show you 5 ways you can help your nutrition clients overcome emotional eating so they can stay on track with their nutrition and see better results. Number 1, make sure they're eating enough throughout the day. While emotional eating is largely psychological, we can't forget about the physical sensations and causes that might be triggering our clients to overeat. So if a client isn't eating the right kinds of foods or they're not eating frequently enough, this could all lead them to getting overly hungry and overeating, and then feeling the shame and guilt because they got off track, which may even cause them to eat more or just have that general feeling or negative mindset around their ability to reach results. So what do? As a coach, you want to encourage them to eat frequently throughout the day. And although this is different for everyone, generally every 3 to 5 hours. And not only do your clients need to be eating frequently, they need to be eating the right types of foods as well to manage cravings and to feel satisfied. And for many of them, this means creating balanced meals, incorporating protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So they eat, they feel satisfied, there's no crashes in energy levels, and they can move on without being so food focused. And while this may seem unrelated to emotional eating, making sure that you're getting the right types of foods in the right amount means you're more likely to use other non-food related coping strategies to help with the emotions, especially when you're not super hungry, which leads me to my next point. Number 2, non-food related coping strategies. Once you make sure that your nutrition client's basic nutritional needs are being met so they're not super hungry throughout the day, now your client can focus on the root causes of emotional eating. So what is emotional eating? Emotional eating is when you eat, but not to satisfy hunger, but instead to soothe or solve an emotion. And I do want to point out, this is a viable coping strategy. It's not the end of the world if it happens, but for clients that have a specific result in mind, we do want to minimize it. You'll commonly hear the phrase stress eating to describe emotional eating. Or maybe your mind goes to the classic rom-com visual of a woman crying over a box of chocolates after a breakup. Emotional eating acts as a strategy to soothe emotions or distract us from uncomfortable feelings. And everyone copes with emotional intensity in different ways. Some people overwork themselves, some people dissociate with social media, some watch TV, some have a drink, and some people eat. And people that emotionally eat have nothing to be ashamed of. Your mind and body are just trying to cope when emotions run high. However, as you can imagine, there are drawbacks to using food as a way to cope with emotions. The first and most obvious for us as coaches is when someone emotionally eats, they're more likely to go over their calories or crowd out healthier foods with unhealthy options. This can be detrimental to an individual's health goals, particularly weight loss. The second drawback, and probably the most important, is that when someone emotionally eats, they're not processing the emotions that they're feeling, which means they're repressing important signals produced by the mind and body. And lastly, emotional eating typically produces some sort of shame for the individual, which can impact someone's confidence and their self-reliance and lead to more emotional eating. This shame is particularly heightened in those that want to lose weight because these episodes tend to make them feel like they've ruined all of their progress. With that being said, it's clear that emotional eating is a way to cope with these emotions. So for clients that find themselves emotional eating, finding another non-food related coping strategy or stress relieving activity can be really helpful. For example, you could advise your client to journal, do some breathing exercises, or even something as simple as petting their dog. You want this to be something that is easy to do, that is low friction, meaning that it's something that won't take too much time or preparation to complete. To make this approach more structured for your clients, I recommend Precision Nutrition's nourishment menu. This menu is a list of 3 to small action items that your clients can do instead of emotional eating. These actions should offer the same level of relief that they would get through food. For example, if you feel bored, you want to choose an activity that could alleviate the boredom, like maybe reading a book or going for a short walk. Coach Josie from the Dr. Mark Method uses this nourishment strategy with her clients, and here's what she has to say about it. My clients that struggle the most with stress or bored eating benefit the most from the nourishment menu. Having this tool allows them to pause, identify the emotion, and consciously choose a healthier coping mechanism. Having something that replaces emotional eating is very helpful because the more that we do it, the more it becomes a habit. And the more you use food as a way to cope with stress and different emotions, it will become an automatic response to these emotions and become part of your routine, whether you like it or not. And that's why just telling someone to stop eating when they're emotionally eating is very unhelpful. And instead, give them strategies to replace emotional eating with another positive habit that will give give them a similar effect. But we can also get them to number 3, snack on healthier alternatives. Or our emotions get the best of us, and despite our best intentions, we just want to eat something. In these situations, especially with people that are boredom eaters or snackers, having them choose something that is healthier or lower calorie can be helpful so they can stay on track with their goals. And the best way to do this is to have a food environment that's conducive to their goals. So you should encourage your clients to stock up on healthier options like fruits and vegetables and low-calorie foods that taste good and can be eaten in higher volume. There are so many great low-calorie options out there, like Halo Top ice cream, Greek yogurt, Smart Sweets candy, fruit, vegetables, protein bars, the list goes on. Encouraging your clients to reach for these items instead of their full-calorie counterparts helps them indulge if needed, but also stay on track. Reaching for these items instead can also help your clients reduce the amount of shame they feel afterwards. So instead of eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's that's going to be around 2,000 calories, they can eat half a pint of Halo Top and only consume 180 calories. Using this strategy can be a good way to help clients take the pressure off themselves, which can be really difficult if someone's main coping strategy has been food their entire life. And instead, you give them some flexibility without sacrificing their nutrition goals altogether. And point number 4, very important, refer out. Now, the one thing we haven't talked about yet is our scope of practice when it comes to clients and emotional eating. As coaches, guiding our clients through emotional eating can be tricky because we're not mental health professionals. However, we can recommend general mindfulness practices to clients that struggle with emotional eating. Things like encouraging your client to pause before emotional eating and checking in on their hunger and fullness clues, the nourishment menu, or having your client choose a healthy food to snack on like fruit, vegetables, or a lower carb or fat alternative. But in more extreme cases, it's never a bad idea to recommend or refer your client to speak with a mental health professional. As coaches that care, I can understand it is very tempting to give clients advice around their problems and personal stressors. But for liability purposes, it's in everyone's best interest for you to guide them through nutritional and activity-based changes and not be their therapist. That boundary needs to be very clear, and many clients that are struggling with emotional eating would benefit from working with a nutrition coach and a mental health professional at the same time. They can unpack the causes of their emotional eating habits and learn healthy coping strategies in therapy, while you hold them accountable to eating healthy to help them reach their goals. Now let's put this all together with our last tip, number 5, create a plan. For a lot of our clients, having a step-by-step game plan that they can follow when they feel pulled to emotional eat can be incredibly helpful. The game plan can look something like this. When a client feels like they want to emotionally eat first, they can check in on their hunger and fullness cues. They should ask themselves, am I really hungry right now? Or is there another emotion that I'm trying to avoid through food? Obviously, if they're legitimately hungry, they should reach for a healthy snack, and in the long term, come up with a strategy so that they're eating more food and staying full throughout the day. But if it isn't legitimate hunger, they can move on to step number 2, which is identify the feeling. Once they decipher that they're trying to soothe some sort of emotional itch, they can ask themselves, what am I feeling right now? Am I feeling sad or stressed or bored? Just by identifying this feeling, your client becomes aware of what they're feeling internally. And with this awareness, they're more able to find a different coping mechanism, which leads them to step number 3, using the nourishment menu. Now that your client knows that feeling that is coming up, they can choose an activity from the nourishment menu that will replace and act as a more healthy coping mechanism. And lastly, step number 4, if they still want to snack or eat, they can choose a healthier option. You can provide a list of snack options they should have at home or readily available when this becomes an issue. Just by having a plan in place, your nutrition client is going to be much more confident and prepared that they can handle these situations correctly. Now, one last note before we wrap up. If you have clients that struggle with emotional eating, it's important to remember to have patience and empathy. For a lot of clients that struggle with this stuff, they're going to feel some shame around it. They're going to feel like they have no control. But it's your job to empower them with some basic mindfulness strategies and remind them that emotional eating is common and nothing to be ashamed of. It's pretty amazing how far a little bit of empathy and compassion can go for our clients. And that's it, folks. Those are 5 ways you can help your clients manage emotional eating so they can reach their goals and find healthier ways to cope with these emotions. As great as all those tips are, if you're really serious about starting a nutrition coaching business, the next thing I'm going to have you do is check out this video I've linked up right here. Today we learned some ways to help your clients manage emotional eating. Next up, we have 7 mindset strategies to help your clients lose weight even faster. It's going to be in this video right here. Check it out, and we'll see you in the next one.